And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we will move on to our next presentation, a showcase of RegTech solution prototype. Mr. Dovydas Zinkevičius, CEO of Columbus Lithuania, is going to join us live on the line right now. So let's just check if we have Dovydas with us already.
Right. Thank you very much for this nice opportunity. And as you called it, a bumpy road. So let's hope we're going to get to the highway. And I'm starting to share my screen, and I hope that you're going to put it on also available on the live stream. So the topic for today is the real-time insight-based compliance, and I'm going to do the showcase of CRISP RegTech solution. And the agenda for today is the idea of it. What does CRISP mean, and what is the idea behind? Then the second point is where we are. Of course, we're gonna give a question, why do we need it? What's behind? And then we're gonna make a, let's say, live show of the solution itself, how we navigate and what kind of benefits we get straight away. So, beginning, the idea. The idea is to change the reporting as such to the supervisory authority carried out by financial institutions. And current situation, I would say, in other words, it means to move from the current situation, which is shown here, as you see. And by saying current situation, I would say it means that financial institutions operating in Lithuania are providing in average 14 reports to a supervisory authority. And in reality, depending on the segment under which financial institution falls, it means that it provides from 1 to 32 reports. But if to take into account the fact that majority of the reports are of a periodical manner, which means that they have to be provided on a constant basis, let's say once per quarter, once per month, the number of the reports which should be generated within a year increases dramatically. And adding a number of, let's say, financial institutions which are operating in Lithuania, which is well above 450, and if to be precise, if I remember, it's around 509 currently, we come to real big numbers which we can target. So where we could or should move, and here is, I would say, the plan is to move to the situation where automatic collection of microdata is enabled. So basically, whereas supervisory authority is doing the report creation or report generation by themselves. So that is the future. How does it look in visually? So basically, I would say on the left hand, which we see in the green box right here, we see the current situation, whereas financial institutions generate reports separately and provides to supervisory authority, in this case, Bank of Lithuania. Although it's worth to highlight and to mention that it can be any other institution to which, let's say, government will decide that reporting needs to be done. But here on the left side, it is shown that currently each financial institution is doing the reporting by themselves, and each of them is sending those reports to the supervising authority. While on the right hand, it is the future. And this picture pretty much reflects the scope of the prototype which we built, showing particularly a couple of financial institutions which started to provide data automatically. And that's, you see those names right here as Connect Pay, Interpay Link, Pay Salute. So, whereas afterwards, the reports were built in the Bank of Lithuania. So that means the data was transferred automatically, having implemented specific component, so via API, and then all the microdata was sent to Bank of Lithuania, and then after boiling it, the required reports were generated. So I would say, summarizing this slide, the idea is basically to transfer the burden of making the reports to the supervisory authority. Right. Having said that, I'm moving to the point where we are. And this slide is to show that, firstly, we created the prototype, which architecture I believe you are able to see on the screen. And the architecture so that basically there are two types how financial institution might get compliant if such requirements will be introduced by the, let's say, supervisory authority. So let's imagine that those requirements are coming to the let's say to the market. So there are two types. The first one, that financial institution certainly they can develop the required front-end solution by themselves, enable automatic data transfer, which will be kind of initialized by, so let's say, supervising authority with a method of pull, or they can install certain component which enable this data transfer to happen automatically. Then, of course, the data comes on standard data model, collected, goes to the SQL data warehouse, then with the, let's say, technologies like Apache Spark, data processing, it's boiled, and then it is visualized either with Power BI or any other tool. And then it can be easily, let's say, read by bank, let's say, of employees or by any other supervisory authority employees, or even additional like tax inspection or other, let's say, institution. So as I said, the prototype was created. Then the prototype was filled with data, the ones which I was mentioning, like Connect Pay, Interpay Link, and Pay Salute. So basically, those companies has granted access to these testing data. Then it's worth to mention that we, for the prototype as a minimal viable product, we picked two real life reports, and I believe Ilya afterwards we're gonna showcase that one. So from this table, the one I showed before, so that was the reports from this segment and this field, supervisory reports, and the prototype was tested. So basically, we provided the access to the Bank of Lithuania and created required reports and enabled them to have a required drill down to the very, very micro data level. And of course, we presented the prototype on the 24th of February. That was a RegTech day. So that is the situation where we are currently with this solution. If to speak about the pains. So with this slide, I wanted to say that ultimately we come to the point where we ask ourselves, why? Why we do it? And the simple answer is basically that because technologies allows us to convert the pains into gains. And I would say, if to come with that kind of, let's say, simple example. So let's say from the daily life. So if you have a headache in daily life, usually what do? You do take some medicine. And I would say in this case, in financial sector, we clearly see that there are some pain points, which CRISP as a solution can manage as a medicine. So it can attack as medicine if that would be a choice to make. So let me start from left to right. And the first point is as a pain, reporting cost. And that pain was basically one of the major pain points which was identified by financial institutions, and they expressed their opinion in survey carried out by Association Fintech. So in the future, financial market participant would no longer need to prepare and submit reports, and this automatically, and this can be done automatically at very detailed level. So that means the reporting cost can be basically minimized to a very, very minimal level. If to go to the right, then there's a second point, accuracy. And that was basically indicated by the Bank of Lithuania. So it must be highlighted that calculations which are carried out by financial institutions in order to build the required reports are not standardized till the last letter, let's call it Z. There is still some space for interpretation, which makes sometimes data hard to compare. So this pain point can be solved and converted into gain simply. So let's imagine that from certain point, all the report is done by supervising authority. So this can be achieved based on microdata. And if needed, double checked, since all the transaction data will be available. So wouldn't that change the game? I would say supervisory authority itself does the calculation and won't be able to put in front the argument of accuracy anymore. So as long as we make sure that this burden of making reports is transferred to the supervisory authority. And then moving forward, and then there is a real-time data. Currently, the reports are delivered too late. Usually, all the reports are for a certain period, or last month, last quarter. So basically, that means that those reports are delivered too late. And this pain is easy to solve, since the supervisory authority can have a real-time data, I would say. And hence, I would say, Ilya, would you like to carry on from this moment? I'm stopping the presentation.
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon. I am Ilya, and I'm one of these CRISP solution developers. And I will introduce and present some of the advantages this solution provides. Let me set up the screen. Wait a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so let's continue. The data refresh frequency is the question that is asked one of the first when we are talking about data analytics. And please know that we name this benefit real-time data, which often means that data is provided really fast in seconds or milliseconds after it is created or generated. In our solution, we do not aim for exactly that. But naturally, the sooner business data appears in analytics solutions, the better. But the current situation with Bank of Lithuania is that the question is how often a reporting institution can provide their data. Now, reporting to Bank of Lithuania is done manually or semi-manually. That is why most reports are done on monthly basis, or some of them are provided quarterly. That means that supervisory authority, Bank of Lithuania in our case, is always behind by at least 1 month. Our solution, on the other hand, aims to automate this process. It also uses the pool method to get the data, which means that the supervisory authority initiates the data request, and the reporting institution provides the requested data. Everything is done automatically without human intervention, which allows us to request data when we need. And this changes the question from how often can you provide the data to how often do we want to get the data. With this method, it is also possible to acquire data on a weekly or daily basis, and it will keep supervisory authority up to date. Also, with this method, it is possible to configure individual timeframes of data refresh for each individual institution, giving the solution even more flexibility. Now, to better demonstrate further benefits, I will use our demo solutions solution that was presented at Demo Day here in Vilnius. Please note that, as Dovydas shown, the solution has pipeline of data processing that includes data collection, warehousing, processing, and visualization. Here I will only show the last step, the visualization. And moving to granularity, yes. We also change approach here. Because now reporting institutions have responsibility to create reports by themselves and send them to Bank of Lithuania. This is a problem because the detail about underlying data is lost, and supervisory authority does not know how or and from which data the report is created. If they want to know the details, they need to contact that reporting institution and ask for the details, which is inefficient because it requires manual work from both sides. Our proposal is to collect source data at the lowest level possible, as I will demonstrate in our solution, and then create the reports on the supervisory authority side. That way, let me go here. That way, reporting institution responsibility is only to provide correct source data, and supervisory authority will always know how the report is created because they do it themselves. And they can always drill down to lower level and see what is the underlying data. In case with our demo, we worked with reports related to payments. So we collected the data about each individual payment transaction. And then we aggregate them on our side. As you can see here, this is how data looks like from our side. We have each individual row representing a separate transaction. We have all the detailed data we need here. We even have bank accounts between which transaction was made if we need to. By the way, this is not the real data, so don't worry. We cooperated with two payment institutions, InterPayLink and ConnectPay, and they provided access to their test environments. So we used the real systems to extract data, which prove that it is possible to merge data from different institutions, standardize it, and analyze it as a one piece. Although this is test data and none of these are real transactions. Also, there is the third company in this data set, which is Columbus Pay, which is not a real company, and its data is completely fabricated for demonstration purpose. So please note that. Returning to the main point, having detailed data allows us to do much more than having only end reports. Which leads us to the next the benefit, ad hoc analysis. And obviously, having end reports, you cannot do much further analytics with them compared to having level low data. But the difference in what you can do is sometimes underestimated. For example, let's take one report that we recreated with our solution. Let's see that report. This table is the original report, which is a report on payment transactions related to foreign countries. And this report does not require much data. Basically, you need only two fields, which is country and transaction amount. It is also normally aggregated to 1 month because it is reported on monthly basis. But even if you take only that data and provide it on daily basis, aggregate it to daily info, you already have much more choices available to you, because you can look at the trends on a weekly and daily basis. And if you keep adding more fields, each addition of new field will grow the choices you can make in your analytics rapidly. We took the data which required to fill in the two reports, and we just added the three more fields to it, which is customer type, personal company, risk group, and industry group. And we were able to create much richer reports with that. As you can see, we can analyze data on various levels. Here you can see the sent and received transactions. Blue means sent transactions to other countries. Green means received transactions from other foreign countries. We also set up here the view that shows the amount, the relation of transaction amounts for individual and company-based customers and their risk group, which is high, average, and low. We can also analyze data of several payment or financial institutions simultaneously, and I can also always choose to look at data of one company. Let's say I want to view Connect Pay information, and I can have it here. In this case, we see that they reported only received transactions. Moving on to the next report. This table shows here the original report. And with addition of new fields, we wanted to demonstrate that you can create much more with that. We have a map here where we can visually see which foreign countries are related to our report. For example, we have some transactions that were made in this country. We can also click at that, and it will highlight the data we need from that country. I can click it again and see the whole data. I can also, if I want to see view more details, I can drill down and see the data even on individual transaction level, which also enables us to see basically everything and create the visuals we need. We also have the currencies, which is not included in original reports, so we can see how many transactions and the amounts were made within foreign currencies. We have very small amounts. Most of this data is in euro, but we have dollars and other countries, other country currencies here a bit. And also, having the detailed data, you can perform data validation and cross-checks, which leads us to the next benefit, which that is transparency. With this one, I will first show a really simple example. Here we have the transactions of payments, and let's say I want to check a single foreign account and see the transactions, the payments that were made from and to this account. I filtered two lists. here we have the transactions that were made to that foreign account from our local Lithuanian account, and transactions that were received to our local Lithuanian account from that foreign account. This is data that, as you can see, is provided by two different financial institutions. This is a really simple check, which is possibly not applicable in real life. No one will probably do that by hand, but it shows the potential of solution in a way that you cannot do this simple check as of now. Each individual financial institutions only has their set of data and transactions that were made in that payment institution, the financial institution. They do not have the data of another one. And Bank of Lithuania does not have details on those transactions, so they cannot perform that check either. This solution unifies data across multiple financial institutions, and so we can view the whole data as one single set of data and perform those cross checks. Yes. Sorry. We also can check the transaction validity, which means that if we have transaction that was made inside of Lithuania, it has two financial institutions involved. So both of those institutions have to report that same transaction. And if we have only one copy of the transaction reported by one financial institution, then we immediately know that something is wrong. And I'm not saying that it's a fake transaction or something like that. It can be a technical issue on the coming from another financial institution that did not report that transaction. But there is also option to do that check and then ask a representative for that financial institution what happened, why the transaction is not there. And there's always possibility to validate the data that comes into the system, which makes hard to manipulate the data compared to sending the aggregated end reports. And if we need some complex algorithm involved in this, we can do that because we have underlying pipeline of data processing. We can even add something like machine learning and artificial intelligence if we want to, that will make enable us to perform even more complex algorithms and cross checks, and it will make near impossible to fabricate the data because the supervisory authority always will be able to take the raw data and view it at different angles. And I think that is all from me. I'm returning the word to Dovydas. Dovydas, please take over. I will stop sharing now.
Would be great. Right, thank you, Leah. I'm taking the screen again. So basically, we stopped at the point of transparency. I would say, in my opinion, the real question is here, and the pain is related to the risk of uncontrolled fintech, I would say, environment. The whole environment is fragile, in my opinion. Some bad cases in this sector might have a very high negative impact. So with accurate data provided without a delay and the possibility of to investigate, supervisory authority should be feeling more secure as regards ecosystem development, since compared to the current situation, it would be in a different level of tracking the specific cases. So, by saying that one, I would say that problematic issues can be identified and resolved in a starting point, if I may call it this way. Then moving to the last 2 points, which we put as developers of a product. So definitely we have to highlight that the solution itself is easy to onboard. So what does it mean? It means that it is easy to add a new financial institution to the solution. With such reporting approach, I would say Lithuania, in my opinion, will gain additional attractiveness for fintech companies. And of course, the last one is easy scalability. It is easy to implement solution in other financial segments, markets, if even to call wider scope. So with this slide, I wanted to put some timeline for those who want to get deeper into the solution, because on the RegTech day, it was presented in more detailed level. So there's a link right here on the 24th. The press release of Bank of Lithuania, there is a whole recording, which was around 2 hours or something. So that was a detailed presentation of there. So that link is active, so you can push and get the whole recording for your review. And then on what's going to be soon. So soon we're gonna try to speed up the process as regards to getting used to the new approach, which we believe will take place. So with this idea, Columbus and our partner Big Data decided to propose some solution free of charge. And specifically, that is the data gateway Lite component, which is right here, which is basically essential to initiate the data transfer from the financial institution to the supervisory authority. So together with the data gateway Lite component, financial institutions are advised also to try the report composer or builder, which is a tool for internal testing how the report looks like, and of course for their own analysis. And of course JC libraries, which is basically a variety of charts, which those required pieces to build your own dashboards. And how to track the latest news. So basically, there are a couple of things. You can follow us on LinkedIn, you can check our websites, or you can subscribe to the news. If you go to our webpage, then there is a button right here, subscribe, and then you can click on what material do you want to get as a news for you. Right, so having said that, basically we finished our presentation, and I hope that's in due time. And it is, I believe, a time for a question. Would you have some for us?
Yeah, thank you very much, gentlemen. I hope you can hear me okay, first of all.
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
I can see nods. So Dovydas, we actually have a couple of questions, but I'm going to just ask 2, if that's all right. And I would appreciate if you give brief comments, if possible, because we're a little pressured on time, if that's all right. So let me read out the first question, first of all. How does the solution cope with a variety of different data input standards used by different institutions? Are you planning to introduce common data point standards?
Ilya, that's a question for you.
Yes, we are planning to do exactly that. So it's in our schema of architecture. It is also visible that we are aiming to create a standard data model that will be used to provide data to the supervisory authority. And the reporting institutions will have to comply with that data standard. So they will have to transform their data to the data model that is needed for data export.
Super. Right.
Please, Dovydas, go ahead if you wanted to add something.
No, that was a very, very cool answer.
Great. And then one more question. You have demonstrated automated reports, data analysis capabilities of the solution. Can you provide an example which would quantify the crisp benefits for your customer in financial terms, i.e. OPEX reduction in percentage?
Well, that's quite obviously detail. I would say if to come, let's say, from a simple one, we can go to the very, very, let's say, complex one. But if to, let's say, a simple one, so let's think how much do you have employees, FTEs, working on reporting and analysis. So what if you are about to minimize that number? So that is the simple one. And the longer one, of course, the insights you might get. So currently, you don't see the full market data. Even, let's say, if that would be made without a clear identification from which financial institution coming, but how you would treat your business and your future plans if you would see the whole market development. I would say that's a valuable insight, and whether you can quantify, monetize it, I don't know. But if I were in your shoes, that definitely would help me to make some decisions in place.
Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for an interesting discussion and presentation. We appreciate you very much. Thank you. And now we will be moving on to our next item on our agenda. Thank you very much, gentlemen, one more time. Have a great day and keep safe.